Part 67. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi-Sing Cao. Chapter 663. 661. Sun Sihao is flexible and suitable for business, while Qianchikan knows his shortcomings. Qianchikan smiled and said, I can't do business well. When the time comes, I will contract a hilltop to raise pigs nearby and sell them to you. Haha, that would be great. Tian smiled, hoping that day would come soon. At noon, they chatted for a long time and looked forward to the future. It wasn't until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon that I said goodbye and left. Tian is more confident in her business. Everything is ready, all she needs is Dongfeng. In the evening, Tian mentioned Qianchikan and Sun Sihao at home, and even took out photos of these two people to show to her father-in-law. Huo Jekan was stunned when he saw the photo and asked, Tell me, what are the names of these two people? The fatter uncle is Qianchikan, the thinner one is Sun Sihao. Tian replied, Dad, have you known them before? Huo Jekan shook his head and said, I don't know the thin one, but I know the fat one, Qianchikan. 3 days ago, we received a letter from Xiangjiang. It was a letter seeking relatives, but it was private. Yes, it's not official. Ah, Tian was surprised. I heard Uncle Qian say before that before the liberation, the Qian family was in the tobacco business and a gangster group. So after the liberation, it was immediately crushed and many people fled everywhere. He was young at the time and had many wives and concubines, but they all disappeared later. The person who wrote the letter is named Qian Zijao, his father is Qianchikan, his mother is Liao Furong, and his grandfather is Qian Wantung. His old house before liberation was Qinjia Lane. Huo Jekan said, if you have time, you can inquire in private. See if that's right. This was sent by Huo Yingjun through special channels. Huo Yingjun was worried about leaving it to others to search, so he asked his second uncle directly. Okay, I'll go ask if I have time the day after tomorrow on the weekend. Tian said, she knew the pain of not being able to reunite with her family. Since Qianchikan has relatives, she is willing to help. Huo Yingji took Tian to Qinjia Lane. Because it was night, Qianchikan was at home, sorting out the vegetables purchased from the countryside. Clean up some dead leaves and tie them into small bundles. Each bundle weighs 5 cents per caddy. In fact, it only costs 2 cents per caddy to buy them. Excluding the yellow leaves that have been cleaned up, you can earn 2 cents per pound. If he sells hundreds of kilograms a day, he can earn 2 or 3 yuan, which is enough for him to eat and drink alone. Tian, Yingja, why are you here? Qianchikan opened the door and was very happy to see two juniors. Although Qianchikan's home is simple, it is still clean, which proves that Qianchikan is a man with a plan. Tian, Huo Yingja put the snacks and jujubes he brought on the table, and replied with a smile, Uncle Qian, I came to inquire about something, so I asked directly, do you know Liao Furong? Liao Furong, Qianchikan was stunned, Furong, I know him. He is my first wife. But at that time, I was a bastard. I spoiled my concubine and killed my wife. I ignored her and then disappeared. When he said this, Qianchikan felt a little guilty. He didn't tell the truth. In fact, he didn't want to implicate his wife, so he didn't tell anyone. Tian and Huo Yingja looked at each other and realized that Qianchikan was lying behind the scenes. Uncle Qian, to tell you the truth, my father-in-law asked me to come here to inquire, saying that he received a letter from above to find relatives. The letter was written by a man named Qian Zijao, his father Qianchikan, and his mother Liao Furong. You have already gone to jail to atone for your past mistakes. No one will use your past mistakes to torture you again, Tian said, hoping that Qianchikan would tell the truth and she could complete the task. Tian, are you telling the truth? Qianchikan looked at Tian expectantly. He was a jerk when he was young, but in old age, he wanted to have a home and family. It's true, he Tian said, the letter came from Xiangzhang. After hearing this, Qianchiken's body trembled and he smiled bitterly. Hey, when Furong persuaded me to leave, I didn't believe in evil. I just gave her a sum of money to let her leave. But she was alone at that time and had no children. Ah. Just because you're not giving birth, doesn't mean you're not pregnant, he Tian said. This man's name is Qianzhijao. He came to look for his father Qianchiken. He has the same surname as you. Is he your son? I'll wait until you get in touch and meet. Maybe it will be confirmed. Oh, Qianchiken was a little excited, even more excited. If it was true, he had a son. As for his wife, he didn't expect a wife waiting for him. After all, when I was young, I was too much of a jerk. Uncle Qian, this is Qianzijiao's letter. Take a look at it. If possible, you should write a reply, he Tian suggested, and it is estimated that this matter is close to home. Qianchiken took it tremblingly, the handwriting was handsome, and Qianchiken burst into tears. This is Furong's handwriting, Qianchiken said. Although he was a bastard when he was young, he had been in love with Liao Furong for a year or two and knew Liao Furong's handwriting. Qianchiken wrote a letter while crying. Originally there were thousands of words, but in the end there was only a simple piece of paper. Are there any tokens? He Tian asked, trying to get it right at once. Qianchiken wiped his tears. Even if he was criticized again, he would still recognize his son and wife. Anyway, it would be meaningless if he lived to this age if he couldn't reunite with his family. I didn't know before that I could still comfort myself and entertain myself. Now I know that we must recognize our loved ones at all costs. Tian, wait a minute, Qianchiken said, turned around and pulled out a 1-foot square wooden box from the corner. There were many dated things in it, which Qianchiken had secretly hidden before. Qianchiken looked inside carefully and saw a hibiscus-shaped silver hairpin dotted with jadeite of excellent quality at the bottom. Because it has not been used for a long time, there is some black oxide on it. Qianchiken put the box away and wiped it carefully. After a while, the hairpin was revealed as it was, delicate and beautiful. This is Furong's hairpin. When she saw it, she knew it was me, Qianchiken said, with excitement, hope, and guilt in his tone. Okay, I'll take it. I'll let you know as soon as I have any news. He Tian took it. There were things from the past hidden in her home, not to mention Qianchiken, whose family had a big business in the past. Please, Qianchiken said. Uncle Qian, maybe you will be able to reunite as a family soon. During this period, you have to take good care of yourself, he Tian reminded, lest Qianchiken be distracted and prone to accidents. I'll pay attention, Qianchiken nodded repeatedly. By the way, I still have photos. How about giving you one? He Tianation's eyes lit up, she nodded and said, that's the best. Qianchiken took out the photos, picked the most energetic one, and handed it to He Tian. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Qi Xing Cao. Chapter 664. Chapter 664. Okay. 662. After He Tian and Huo Yingzhi returned home, they put the letter and photos in a sturdy envelope, then found a nice chocolate box, put the letter and hairpin in and gave it to Huo Jekan. Huo Jekan didn't expect that he was actually someone his daughter-in-law knew. After checking, he handed it over to Huo Yingjun through a secret relationship. Huo Yingjun did all the rest. This matter has reached a stage for the time being, and Huo Jekan has no time to care about such trivial matters. At the same time, exciting reform documents and appointment documents were sent to Nanji. Huo Jekan is already the person in charge of Nanji. The person sent to work with Huo Jekan is Mr. Deng's man named Li Wenqiang. The reason for doing this is to use Nanji as a pilot project. It is necessary to maintain consistency in the decrees and political opinions in order to better implement the spirit of the document. Huo Jekan has been studying it silently for several months, thinking about it every day. Now that the document was coming down, Huo Jekan and Huo Yingzhe, father and son, immediately began to study it word for word. Huo Yingzhe had already guessed most of the content, but there were still some details. It took me a week to fully understand this document. Huo Jekan wrote a plan and took it to discuss with Li Wenqiang in private. Li Wenqiang was stunned when he saw the 35 pages of the work plan for the next 5 years. No wonder Mr. Deng valued the second son of the Huo family so much. The information in his hand is more comprehensive and feasible than the countermeasures given by the think tank. Brother Huo, the two of us are on the same boat now. You are in charge of the economy, and Mr. D also said that if I let you go, you can do your best. Li Wenqiang said, leave this plan with me. In a few days God will give you the answer. It stands to reason that Li Wenqiang has the right to approve or give opinions, but when it comes to such a comprehensive 5-year plan as Huo Jekan, all he can do is submit it quickly and wait for the approval of the top leaders. Early the next morning, this detailed 5-year plan appeared in front of Mr. Deng. Okay, 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 Mr. Deng said hello 3 times again. Before, they only focused on reforming the economy, but they ignored the impact that economic development would have on the local environment, culture, and architecture. After seeing it, the think tank was also impressed. There are dozens of them, but they have never appointed a deputy mayor in any place. But now he should be the mayor. After Mr. Deng carefully studied it, he later approved it and said, boldly try. Before the original was sent back to Nanshi, Mr. Deng had people copy it again and read it word for word. When he encountered wonderful or unexpected but very correct moves, he would mark them with a red pen at the back. This 35-page plan is like a ray of sunshine, shining through the clouds on the earth, bringing light. This plan raises many questions and also contains many countermeasures. It is an important document for exploring reforms. As long as it is effective, it will be formulated into a guiding document. After Huo Jekan got the approval, he finally relaxed and boldly tried it. Mr. Huo sent the news through secret channels. Now Huo Yingjun is using his work to help him contact some patriotic overseas Chinese, hoping to let them come to invest and set up factories. At the same time, the Huo family will also provide support to Huo Jekan in other aspects, allowing him to do things boldly and confidently. In the Nanshi City Group, discussions began around the approved documents and a mobilization meeting was held to assign tasks and regulate people according to their respective positions. Anyone who violates discipline or fails to complete their work will be demoted. With the issuance of reform documents, some free private transactions have become more frequent, there are more and more shops on both sides of the street, and the business environment is getting better and better. He Tiantian had previously planned to open a store next year, so the time should be ripe. At the end of the year, I finally got the news from Huo Yingjun, and sent 2 photos. One of them was a photo of a mother and son, here are Liao Furong and Qian Zhijao, the other one has an extra person on it. The young woman and 2 children should be Qian Zijiao's wife and children. While waiting for the news, Qian Chicken often came to He Tianation's house to sit there, hoping to get news about his family as soon as possible. As soon as He Tiantian got the things, she and Huo Yingzhe came over and Qian Chicken delivered them. Qian Chicken burst into tears after reading the letter. After my first wife arrived in Xiangjiang, she did not remarry, but worked hard to raise her children. Now his son is a lawyer, his daughter-in-law is a teacher at Xiangjiang University, and they have a pair of lovely children. The letter also said that they would come to China to see him next summer. Uncle Qian, congratulations, He Tiantian said, not long after, you will be able to reunite as a family. It's very good, but now I have become a bad old man, and my house is in such a dilapidated state. Qian Chicken said with a bitter smile. Although he had tidied it up before, he could only do simple things because he didn't have much money. Still can't change the dilapidation. He Tian smiled and said, when the weather gets warmer next year and the weather is better, we can renovate it. If you feel that you have no career, we can open a braised meat shop together. Chicken thought for a moment, entered the house, took a small box of goodies, put them on the table and said, Tian, treat these things as selling them to you. You give me 10,000 yuan first. I want to renovate the house and buy some better furniture. As for the braised meat shop, I won't pay for it. Tian is not short of money, and her parents sent her tens of thousands some time ago. Put away the things yourself, and treat the money as if I lent it to you. Once you have the money, you can just pay me back with interest, Tian said. As for cooperation, we will discuss the sharing in detail when the time comes. The things in this box were all saved after Chicken hid them. How could Tian take advantage of others' danger? Furthermore, many friends lead to many paths. Chicken is rich, and Chicken's son is an excellent lawyer in Xiangjiang. There may be opportunities for cooperation in the future. This. Chicken hesitated, but he had his own principles in doing things, so he still pushed the thing in front of Tian. Tian girl, just keep it, just treat it as a mortgage to you. I will make a lot of money and redeem it as soon as possible. If you don't accept it, then I can't ask you to borrow money. I can only sell these things. Ah, Tian didn't expect Chicken to say this. Okay, I'll keep it. If you want to redeem it later, you can tell me. Haha, Chicken smiled, I think so too. If I sell it to others, I may not be able to buy it back when I have money. But you don't like my things. If I want, you can let me, I'll redeem it. Well, that's what it means, Tian said. Whenever you need it, you can go to my place to get money. Thank you, sweet girl, Chicken said gratefully. It's winter now, so there's no need to bring the money. When the weather gets warm after the new year, I'll go to your place to get it. The two agreed, and Tian left with Huo Yingzhe. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 665. 663. The final exam is finally over, the homework for the first semester of sophomore year is over, and the vacation has begun. Wu Yaoliang and Huang Jingli were getting married. Because they were far away, Tian and Huo Yingzhe couldn't go, so Tian gave a gift in advance and gave Huang Jingli a red cotton jacket as a wedding gift. As their classmates kept leaving, Tian and Huo Yingzhe followed their parents and began to prepare to go to Yanjing to celebrate the new year. I go there every year. Tian and Huo Yingzhe took their two children to the photo studio, took a lot of photos, and then sent them to their parents and grandmothers abroad. Due to the lack of material resources in the country, Tian had nothing to give to her grandmother. The only thing that could be obtained was the pills made by Huo Yingzhe, but Tian was worried about being inspected and found to be strange, so she could only put them away and give them to her parents and grandmother in person later. Huo Zhekan, Zhang Lifang and their group finally arrived in Yanjing years ago, and it was Huo Yingzhen who came to pick them up. When we came back this time, the two little dolls could talk and walk. They were cuter and more naughty at the same time. If you don't pay attention, you won't know where it went. Call uncle. Tian taught the children how to call people. They originally met once a year. If they don't teach the children how to call people, they will become even stranger in the future. Huo Ruiman, wearing a red beret and big eyes, looked at Huo Yingzhen and said, Uncle, you are so handsome. Haha, Ruiman is so beautiful. Huo Yingzhen pinched Huo Ruiman's little face, which was very rare. It was a pity that his wife did not want to have children. He wanted a daughter so much. Huo Ruwa said slowly, "Uncle." That calm look was even quieter than that of his second brother Huo Yingja when he was a child. "Ruwa is great too," Huo Yingjun praised, "let's go home quickly. Your brother Ruxiang is already waiting for you at home. Brother has a lot of toys for Ruimin and Ruwa to play with." The car drives smoothly on the road. He Tian looked out the window and found that the colors on the streets were richer this year, and people's clothes had also changed, and the styles were no longer the same and rigid. "Brother, I feel that this year's Yanjing is more lively than before." He Tian smiled and said, "In this case, the clothes in her alley can be taken out and worn." "Yes, there are a lot of changes," Huo Yingjun said, "there will be more changes next year. Now there are reforms everywhere. People's thoughts and concepts have also changed. They are full of vitality and prosperity. I feel it," He Tian said. Many shops were opened on both sides of the streets in Yanjing, and the business in the shops was pretty good. He Tian kept staring outside, and the two children also opened the window and looked outside curiously. The two little heads in hats came together and whispered, communicating in their own language, which the adults could vaguely understand. Huo Yingja laughed. It turned out that they were talking about food. He was a foodie at such a young age, a bit like their mother. He hoped that he would not become two little fat people in the future. When they arrived at the Huo family's old house, everyone was already waiting for them. Huo Ruwa and Huo Ruimin were carried into the house. As soon as they saw Huo Ruxiang, they shouted sweetly, "Brother, brother." On weekdays, He Tian would show photos of Huo Ruxiang and his brother He Daodu to his daughter and son, so they knew Huo Ruxiang. Huo Ruxiang also knew Huo Ruwa and Huo Ruimin. Mrs. Huo was even more worried about her great-grandchildren not being close to each other. She often took photos and told him that these were her younger siblings in Nanji. Huo Ruxiang also liked his good-looking younger siblings and brought them to his toy room to share his toys. With Grandma Wang following, nothing would happen. He Tian and Huo Yingja talked to the two elderly people. "Tian, you taught these two children very well," Madame Huo said with a smile. Although they had only been together for only 10 minutes, she had already fallen in love with these two children. Although naughty, but polite. He Tian smiled and said, "I usually go to school and it is taught by Grandma Wang. My parents will also help take care of the children after get off work. There are so many kind and upright people teaching and playing with the children, so the children grow up very well. Good health and good character." When Zhang Lifang and Huo Jekan heard this, they both smiled happily. As an elder, it is human nature to love the younger generation. However, if the younger generation does not understand and is not grateful, they will also feel chilled. Now their daughter-in-law recognizes their hard work, which makes them very happy. After hearing this, Mrs. Huo nodded repeatedly, "Hey, the boss's wife is picky, and Zhao Huan is a bastard. She keeps silent in her stomach and doesn't say anything." As time goes by, they separate. Looking at Yingja's wife, she has been subdued from top to bottom. Life in this family is comfortable and there is no idleness. "Haha, good, everything is going well for the family," Mrs. Huo said. "By the way, your mother-in-law wrote a letter before, saying that the braised pork you made is delicious. I will send someone 2 pig heads and some other things tomorrow. Meat, let's have a good New Year's meal tomorrow." He Tian nodded and said, "I brought some ingredients here specially, and my mother kept reminding me not to forget them." Okay, it's quite cold for you guys to take the train. Go and rest in your room quickly. I'll have someone call you for dinner later," Madame Huo said, reluctant to let the junior talk to her. "Thank you, Grandma, Grandpa," He Tian said before following Huo Yingja back to the bedroom. Huo Jekan and Zhang Lifang were also a little tired, so they also went back to the room to rest. Song Chunli went to the kitchen, and Zhao Huan looked at their backs enviously. "Are you envious, Mrs. Huo asked softly. She often taught the eldest daughter-in-law a lesson, and now she wanted to enlighten Zhao Huan. Zhao Huan did not answer, but nodded quietly. You may be better than Tian, but you are not as good as Tian when it comes to dealing with interpersonal relationships, Mrs. Huo said, hoping that through her advice, Zhao Huan could change something. Yes, I have always admired my second younger sister for this, Zhao Huan said. Everyone from top to bottom, old and young, likes her. Grandma Wang often writes to you, and she always praises her second younger sister. Yeah. Half of the letters she wrote were about Tian, and the remaining half were about her two children, Mrs. Huo said. Her name is the maid, she is as close as a sister, and she is responsible for what she does, but who should I praise? Not much. Zhao Huan nodded, even more envious. Huan, you are actually very good, but you are not good at dealing with the people around you, Mrs. Huo said, but I also admit that your mother-in-law is a foul-mouthed, petty, and jealous person. She is indeed more difficult than your second aunt. Get along. Zhao Huan smiled and said, mother-in-law is fine, but she has a sharp tongue and a soft heart. Yes, you just have an unpleasant temper, Mrs. Huo said. Actually, if you can have a better attitude and stop being so embarrassed, maybe the situation between you will be better. Yeah, Zhao Huan nodded and then smiled, but her biggest opinion of me is that I won't have any more children. If I get pregnant and reconcile with my mother-in-law, the effect may be better. Mrs. Huo's eyes lit up, she nodded and said, yes, I will help you in the middle when the time comes. You and Yingjun are not young anymore, it would be good to have another child. Some time ago, I heard the rumor that we need family planning, and we can only have one child. Especially since Yingjun and you are both civil servants. Once you violate the rules, your job will be gone. When the time comes, do you want to get pregnant or not? Yingjun also told me about this, so we have already started preparations, Zhao Huan said. No matter if there is another boy or girl, they can help each other in the future and not be alone. There will be another chapter later. Today's 4 updates are 8,000 words. Thank you for your genuine subscription and reward, thank you. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 666. Chapter 666 The True Meaning of Love Persistence. 664. She is no longer a child. After becoming a parent and thinking from his perspective, Zhao Huan was able to understand some things. After hearing this, Zhao Huan nodded and said, thank you, Grandma. I will try my best to ease the relationship with my mother-in-law. I am a handsome wife, and my mother-in-law is a handsome mother. We have a bad relationship, and the one who is most unhappy is the one who is wronged. Yes, split anger is the most uncomfortable, Mrs. Huo said. The eldest daughter-in-law is so old, it is very difficult for her to change. Fortunately, Zhao Huan is a good child and wants to change. I hope this change will bring more laughter and less disputes to the family. Zhang Lifang asked He Tian not to get involved in the matter at the old house, so He Tian always kept it in mind. Since everyone was interested in the braised pork she made, after Mrs. Huo's order arrived, she started to prepare it. In order not to affect the cooking in the kitchen, He Tian specially built a small shed next to the utility room in the backyard, placed the briquette stove there, placed a large pot on it, and started stewing. Because the pig heads and chicken and duck meat had been completely cleaned, He Tian just washed them with hot water, mixed the ingredients, and threw them directly into the pot to cook. From morning to afternoon, the smell of meat wafted from the Huo family's backyard from time to time. Mr. Huo smelled the fragrance when he was out for a walk, so he ran over and asked, Tian, what is this? He Tian and Huo Yingzhe were watching the stove in the backyard, taking their children to bask in the sun and play. Grandpa, This is Tianation's secret braised pork. You can eat it later, Huo Yingji said. He was very confident about the taste of the braised pork at home. Haha, not bad, it smells really good, Mr. Huo said with a smile. This smell reminds me of the New Year stew in the landlord's house when I was a kid. This scent brought back the most profound memory of food in Mr. Huo's memory. After eating it, you will feel it tastes better than those. Huo Yingji smiled, took out a knife and cut a piece from the side for his grandfather. How about you try it now? Then I'll give it a try. Mr. Huo nodded repeatedly. He was originally informal, but now that he's getting older, he can do whatever he wants at home. Mr. Huo put the finger-sized piece of meat into his mouth and savored it carefully. After a while, Mr. Huo nodded and said, "It tastes very good. It's the best braised pork I've ever tasted. You guys watch carefully here. I'll go back to the house and find a few bottles of good wine. Let's have some dinner tonight, have a few drinks." "Okay," Huo Yingji smiled, "I want to drink more of the good wine my grandfather collected." Mr. Huo happily rushed back to the front yard to choose the wine he wanted to drink in the evening. After the old man left, he Tian laughed softly and said, "Brother Yingji, Grandpa is quite funny." "Yes, my grandfather is very cheerful, and my grandmother is very strict. I don't know how they fell in love," Huo Yingji said with a smile. The temperaments of his grandfather and grandmother are very different. Sometimes he doesn't understand how two people with such personalities can do it. Can you live happily for a lifetime? Haha, maybe it's fate, he Tian smiled. As long as they love each other and can be tolerant to each other, they can naturally live a lifetime. Furthermore, their relationship has experienced life and death in blood and fire. Test, more unbreakable. There are thousands of kinds of love, and everyone's love is different. The only thing that is the same is that love is not eternal. The one that can go all the way to the end is the one that can continue to persist after the brilliant light of love disappears. A lifetime of love is just about remembering love and commitment when you were young, and then supporting each other until you grow old. It's that simple. Persevere. Haha, not only will we grow old together, but we will live forever, Huo Yingji said softly. His voice was very low, as if he was talking to himself. "I don't know about life after life. What I can control is this life," he Tian said. "I will love you well in this life, love you and my children for the rest of my life." "Okay," Huo Yingji smiled and hugged he Tian gently. Huo Ruiman, Huo Ruhua and Huo Ruxiang were playing there, looking at their parents from time to time and smiling secretly. In the evening, he Tianation's secret braised pork was served. There are 3 plates on it: braised pork head, braised chicken, and braised duck. Mr. Huo, his son, and grandson drank white wine together, which was said to be a special gift, while the women drank fruit wine. This is the wine that he Tian brought back from Kijia village. When he returned to Yanjing, he brought 2 jars with him. After eating and drinking, Mr. Huo called his son and grandson to the study. In the second half of the year, the second son came to the limelight, and Mr. Huo was very pleased. "Jekan, Yingji, have you two ever thought about going back to Yanjing?" Mr. Huo said. "If you are in Yanjing, you will have more opportunities, especially now that the big leader values his second son. It is an opportunity not to be missed." "Yes, second brother. When you come to Yanjing, we brothers can also support each other." Huo Zhe smiled dryly, hoping that his second brother would come to help him. "Second uncle, you don't know that people in our unit admire me very much now. I didn't expect that I have such a powerful second uncle who can write such instructive articles and leave his name in history," Huo Yingjun said with admiration. Because of his second uncle, the leader was more polite to him. Huo Jekan listened and said with a smile, "Thank you, father, for your kindness. But as you all know, I am used to doing things locally, and now is the experimental stage. My 5-year plan has been approved by the leadership. It is at the critical moment. It is better to continue working at the local level. When results are achieved, we can truly integrate theory and practice. When the time comes, we will be transferred to have more capital. Mr. Huo felt a little regretful after hearing this, but his son was older and he respected his son's choice. He nodded and said, "Well, since you don't want to go back to Yanjing, then you can work hard in the local area and make achievements. When the time comes, it would be nice to come back." When Huo Jekian saw his father say this, it was even harder to force his second brother. 70% of the Huo family's resources are spent on him. If he returns to Beijing, the conflicts may increase. Second brother, since you don't want to go back to Yanjing, eldest brother won't force you. If you have difficulties locally, you must tell your family. No matter what, my father and I can always give you something to do in Yanjing. Tu Huozhe said with a smile, the better his younger brother's performance at the local level, the brighter his face as the elder brother will be. Thank you, brother Huojekan said. He didn't want to return to Beijing. On the one hand, it was because of the instructions of the big leader. On the other hand, he also didn't want to return to Yanjing and occupy the Huo family's resources invisibly. Second uncle is capable and can achieve results anywhere, Huo Yingjun said. I will work hard in the future. By the way, second brother, you are already your sophomore year. In another semester, you will probably have to do an internship. Where do you want to work? At the Institute of Science and Technology, or somewhere else? The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 667. 665. Huo Yingzhe, who had been silently listening to everyone's speech, now became the focus of everyone's attention. What should be said has been said. Huo Yingzhe said nothing and downplayed his existence. However, Huo Yingjun obviously did not let Huo Yingzhe get his wish. Huo Yingzhe raised his head, smiled slightly, and said, I want to switch to civilian research. Ah, everyone was stunned, and Mr. Huo asked, Yingzhe, you have made so many achievements in the Weapons Research Institute, don't you think it's a pity to go to the civilian major again? What a pity, it's just research. Huo Yingzhe smiled and didn't care. Yingzhe, have you ever thought that civilian use is not as good as military industry, and it will not be good for your future development? Huo Jekian asked. This nephew is so powerful, it would be a pity not to join politics. If he is not within the system, then it's such a waste. Huo Jekian was very busy and never discussed his future work with his son. Who would have thought that his son would have such an idea? Even though there was no discussion before, he thought that his son would return to work in his old company. Mr. Huo pondered for a moment and said, Yingzhe, this is not good for your future development. Huo Yingzhe smiled and said, there is no disadvantage. Even in the civilian field, I can do well. Huo Yingzhe's words left everyone silent and disapproving. You are still too young, Mr. Huo sighed, if you don't fight for rights, they won't fall on you. My uncle, father, and eldest brother are here. I have a backer, Huo Yingzhe said with a smile. He promised He Tian that he would not go to the Institute of Science and Technology unless he went there. In his previous life, he had made so many contributions, but in this life, he just wanted to live for himself. As for other people, or other people's affairs, he didn't want to interfere too much. Haha, father, since Yingzhe has made such a decision, he must have his own considerations. Huo Jekian knew that his son was not the kind of willful person. Since he said this in front of his family, there was probably a reason. What's the reason? Mr. Huo looked at Huo Yingzhe. He couldn't understand why Huo Yingzhe would give up the position that was so easy for him. Instead, go to another system and start over. Huo Yingzhe smiled and said, actually, there is no big reason. I just don't want to work so hard. I want to live longer. Huo Yingzhe's words made several people in the room hold their breath. Huo Yingzhe's narrow escape last time probably frightened him, or in other words, made him discouraged and even a little bit resentful. If it were for other reasons, Mr. Huo could always find an excuse to refute it, but he couldn't refute this reason. Compared with fame, wealth, power, and life, life is indeed more important. After a while, Mr. Huo said slowly, "Okay, you have your own plan. As elders, we won't make things difficult for you." Huo Yingja had already died once, and everyone couldn't bear Huo Yingja to go through that kind of suffering again. "Thank you, Grandpa," Huo Yingja responded, still smiling as before, neither arrogant nor impetuous. Because of Huo Yingja's future plans, Mr. Huo was no longer in the mood to continue chatting, so he asked them to go back and rest. "It's the Chinese New Year, but we still welcome guests." Mr. Huo took his son and grandson to pay New Year's greetings to his boss. The senior leader thought highly of Huo Jekan because of his articles and plans, and chatted for more than an hour before letting them go back. From the attitude of the big leader, it can be seen that the Huo family has reached a higher level. After that, Huo Yingja handed the child to his parents and took He Tian to play. It was a cold day, so He Tian was not happy to play. She went directly to the overseas Chinese store and bought more than 3,000 yuan worth of things. Some of them needed to be sent abroad, some to relatives and friends in Kijia village, and most of them were sent to relatives and friends in Kijia village. Arrived at Nanji. "Brother Yingja, are you feeling bored?" He Tian asked. She didn't want to go shopping, but she was worried that Huo Yingja would. "Haha, I just want to accompany you, not just to see the scenery. Wherever you like to go, I will go with you." Huo Yingja smiled. "Don't think about unreliable things in your little head." Well, I don't want to," He Tian said. "I don't know why. It's cold anyway, so I don't want to go out. I just want to stay at home and be warm." "After dinner, we will go back," Huo Yingja said. "If you bear with me, we can go back to Nanji soon." Although their grandparents were here, Huo Yingja and He Tian always felt like they were visiting relatives and wanted to return home to Nanji as soon as possible. The couple didn't want to be romantic in the ice and snow, so they had dinner at the Friendship Hotel and then went home with He Tian. Just after returning home, Zhang Lifang said happily, "Yingja, Tian, your grandfather, grandmother, and your uncle, aunt, cousin, and cousin returned to Yanjing today. Tomorrow our family will visit together." Zhang Lifang misses her father very much after not seeing him for several years. Zhang Lifang's excitement also inspired others, and Huo Jekan was also very happy. "Mom, I just bought some things today and will give them to my grandpa and grandma tomorrow." He Tian smiled and said, "By the way, what's going on at grandpa's family? Please tell me carefully so that Yingja and I can help the elders." Junior prepares gifts. Zhang Lifang was very happy to see He Tian was so thoughtful. "Thank you for your hard work." Zhang Lifang smiled. If she hadn't been unable to wait, she would have wanted to go shopping tomorrow. But she got the news today, and if it wasn't too late, she couldn't wait to get there now. Zhang Lifang told He Tian about the situation of her natal family. He Tian did some calculations and found that fortunately, there were 3 generations of grandparents: grandfather, grandmother, uncle, aunt, and a cousin. After He Tian returned to the house, she picked out the things she bought and prepared 6 gifts. Early the next morning, Zhang Lifang got up, had breakfast, and took her husband, son, daughter-in-law, grandson, and granddaughter back to her parents' home. Zhang Lifang's natal family is located in a courtyard next door to the Zhang family's second uncle. Because the second aunt of the Zhang family often comes to clean it, it's fairly clean. I originally came back a few years ago, and it was even more thoroughly cleaned. Unexpectedly, something happened to the Zhang family temporarily and he was unable to come back before the year. As soon as Zhang Lifang entered the door, she shouted, "Dad, Mom." At this time, a woman came out of the kitchen. She was Zhang Lifang's eldest sister-in-law, Zhang Hui. Her hair was a little gray. Lai Fang. Zhang Hui said in surprise, your brother and I were planning to visit your home tomorrow. Sister-in-law, we haven't seen each other for so many years. We are all getting old. Zhang Lifang's eyes were red, feeling excited and sad. Zhang Hui looked her sister-in-law up and down, and said with a smile, I am old, but Lifang, you are still as pretty as when you were young. Today Zhang Lifang is wearing a red plush coat, a white turtleneck sweater, black straight pants, and women's semi-high-heeled leather shoes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 668. 666. These clothes were all worn by He Tian Tian to honor her. Zhang Lifang only wears it on important occasions. When she returned to her parents' home today, she put on her best clothes in order to reassure her parents. Sister-in-law, don't say that. Zhang Lifang was a little embarrassed. By the way, where are Wen Tao and Wen Wen? They went out to buy some things and will be back in a while. Now that Guang is talking, hurry into the house. It's warm in the house, Zhang Hui greeted. Huo Jekan from behind stepped forward and said, Sister-in-law, thank you for your hard work. Huo Yingjia and He Tian Tian each held a chubby baby and said, hello, auntie. Okay, Lai Fang, you are a blessing, Zhang Hui said excitedly. Each of the sisters-in-law's family is prettier than the last. She rubbed her hands, oh, I'm empty-handed. There's no greeting gift now. Come in, I'll give you. The child gets a gift. Zhang Lifang took her sister-in-law Zhang Hui's arm and walked into the house together. The old man and the old lady of the Zhang family heard the noise outside and were about to come out when they saw the door open. Dad, Mom, Zhang Lifang ran to her parents excitedly, I miss you so much. We miss you too, Mrs. Zhang said with a smile. In the past few years, we have been corresponding and have not met each other. Although it is regrettable, we are very lucky to be healthy. Don't cry, we are already grandmothers. Even if you cry, you are not afraid of the younger generation's jokes. Huo Jekan stepped forward and said respectfully, Father-in-law, Mother-in-law. He Tian Tian, Huo Yingjia stepped forward and said, Grandpa, Grandma. Okay, they are all good boys, Mr. Zhang said, sit inside, don't stand outside. After sitting down, Mrs. Zhang took out 2 gold locks from the room, one for each person, and gave He Tian Tian a pair of red jade bracelets. Mom, the gift is too heavy. Zhang Lifang was embarrassed and didn't want her mother to spend money. We couldn't attend the child's wedding before. Now that we're back and we don't give her a meeting gift, how can we be so embarrassed? Mrs. Zhang said, Tian Tian is a good daughter-in-law, you have to treat her well. Zhang Lifang listened to her mother's praise of He Tian Tian and said proudly, this is the daughter-in-law I like. Of course I like her. We get along very well. By the way, where is the eldest brother? Your eldest brother, you took your 2 children out to buy things. In case relatives come, there is nothing at home, Mrs. Zhang explained. Mom, didn't you say you came back years ago? Why were you delayed until now? Zhang Lifang asked. It's okay, it's just your father who caught a cold. He didn't make it in time for the year before, so he came here after the year, Mrs. Huo said. When she heard that her father had a cold, Zhang Lifang was very worried and asked, Dad, how are you doing now? It's okay. I'm fine after taking the medicine. It's just your mother and eldest brother who are troublesome, otherwise we would have been home years ago, Mr. Zhang muttered, with a strong opinion. Dad, you are old, so you can't be like this. You have to be careful, Zhang Lifang said, it's better than this. I'll take you to the hospital for a checkup tomorrow. I'll know better. I'm fine, I'm in good health, Mr. Zhang said, You don't need to take me there. Besides, who is willing to go to the hospital during the Chinese New Year? What's more, it's just a little cold, nothing serious. Okay, Lai Fang, you don't have to worry, your father is in good health, Ms. Zhang said, and as she was speaking, hearty laughter came from outside. Zhang Gia brought his son and daughter back from the supply and marketing cooperative. When he heard that his sister was coming, he put down his things and came in. Another round of pleasantries. Yingjia, you are a good boy, Zhang Wentao said with a smile, you are better than me. I don't have a wife yet, and you already have 2 children. Cousin, you have to work hard, Huo Yingjia said, after all, you are not young. Grandpa and Grandma both want to hold their great-grandson. Working hard, Zhang Wentao said, when I get married, I will ask you to come over for a wedding banquet. That's necessary, Huo Yingjia said. By the way, how is Wenwen? Cousin, I'm going to take the college entrance examination and try to get into our university in Yanjing, Zhang Wenwen said with a smile. She had always wanted to return to Yanjing and finally realized it. The college entrance examination in Yanjing is not easy, so you have to work hard, Huo Yingjia said. Nowadays, the college entrance examination is becoming more and more formal and the difficulty is gradually increasing. But as long as they work hard, outstanding people can always get into college. I will, Zhang Wenwen said. Cousin, you are so lucky. Your cousin is so beautiful and you have a pair of lovely sons and daughters. Yeah, I'm envious too, Zhang Wentao said. It seems that I can no longer focus on work so much in the future, and I should find a partner and have some lovely children. You've thought so for a long time. My sister-in-law already has a little nephew and niece running around, and she knows how to make soy sauce, Zhang Wenwen said angrily. These words are usually said by the elders, but today she couldn't help it anymore. It's really that my cousin's 2 children are so cute. White, tender, fleshy, beautiful, and cute. He Tian was talking to everyone and saw her aunt was busy cooking alone, so she went over to help. When Zhang Wenwen saw that her cousin-in-law was helping, she couldn't stay idle, so she followed her. He Tian's diligence was appreciated by her aunt Zhang Hui. Zhang Wenwen is a cheerful and lively girl who has the same temperament as He Tian. They work and talk at the same time. After a while we became familiar with each other. After lunch, Zhang Lifang left with her family at about 10 o'clock in the afternoon. Although she wanted to stay here, their family was too troublesome and she didn't want her sister-in-law to be burdened. Go back today and come back tomorrow. Time flies by quickly, and it's the 6th day of the new year in a blink of an eye. It's the day when Huo Jekan's family leaves again. Before leaving, Zhang Lifang took her family to her parents' home to say goodbye. Mr. Zhang asked his son Zhang Wentao to call his second uncle and his family over for a simple meal. It happened that Zhang Wenhui's boyfriend Lu Chuanqiang was also there and happened to come over with him. Zhang Wenhui is the only daughter of the second uncle of the Zhang family. She is much loved and has developed a rather arrogant character. She has always been attached to everything at home. Whether she is in school, she is the envy of others. But in front of He Tian, she felt like an ugly duckling, gloomy. I had always envied He Tian when I saw him at the overseas Chinese hotel before. Now that I saw him again, I was even more envious. Cousin, your clothes are really nice. Where did you buy them? Zhang Wenhuifang asked with a smile, her eyes full of envy. Although I felt a little jealous and uncomfortable, I still couldn't help but want to inquire. She also wanted to buy it. He Tian smiled, shook her head and said, I don't know where I bought it. My grandmother and parents sent it to me. Zhang Wenhui smiled and said, my cousin is good looking and looks good in anything she wears. Nonsense, He Tian smiled and heard the child cry, you guys talk, I will take care of the child. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Xing Cao. Chapter 669. 667. After He Tiantian left, Zhang Wenwen looked at Zhang Wenhui and said, Sister Wenhui, you have so many clothes, so don't envy others. Look at what I'm wearing and what you're wearing. Although Zhang Wenwen is young, she is not stupid. The look in her cousin's eyes just now made her want to take off her clothes. Zhang Wenhui was unhappy, and this little cousin came over to teach her a lesson. What are you talking about? Zhang Wenhui said, I just complimented her on her beautiful clothes. What's wrong? I didn't ask her for it. It's best if you don't ask for it, Zhang Wenwen said. She didn't like this cousin when she was a child, and she doesn't like her even more now. After saying that, Zhang Wenwen also entered the room without talking to Zhang Wenhui. The relationship between the two was not good anyway. He Tiantian left on purpose just now. When he met Zhang Wenhui once last year, he felt that she was unfriendly. Now they are guests, and they are not visiting her home, and they still have that attitude. Hey, forget it. Even if He Tiantian had new clothes, she wouldn't want to give them to such a person. But Zhang Wenwen is a very nice little girl. I will send her 2 pieces when I have time. Some people are worthy of friendship, and some are not. The separation between mother and daughter is always accompanied by tears. Mrs. Zhang, mother and daughter Zhang Lifang hugged each other and cried. The next time they meet, they will probably have to wait until the Chinese New Year next year. Since her parents returned to Yanjing, Zhang Lifang has been thinking about whether she can come back soon and stay with her parents as a filial piety. She doesn't want to see them only once a year like now. On the train, Zhang Lifang was in a low mood. He Tiantian and Huo Yingjie took care of the children carefully, not wanting to disturb Zhang Lifang. Lifang, I know you are reluctant to leave your father-in-law and mother-in-law. Don't worry. I will try to complete the task within 5 years, and we will be transferred back to Yanjing and will no longer be floating outside. Huo Jekan comforted his wife in a low voice. Over the years, Zhang Lifang has been with her all the time. By his side, he also hopes that his wife can be happy. Zhang Lifang was stunned and murmured, it will take another 5 years. 5 years is not a short period of time, but I see that my father-in-law and mother-in-law are in good health, and it is not a problem to live to be 80 or 90 years old. Huo Jekan said, if you are really homesick, wait until summer, I will come to Yanjing for a meeting, you ask for leave, and let's come together to visit my father-in-law and mother-in-law. Isn't it bad to always ask for leave? Zhang Lifang was embarrassed. She was a very serious and responsible person. She never asked for leave unless it was a particularly important matter. It's okay. Taking a few days off is not a big deal, Huo Jekan said. If he couldn't even do this, he would be unqualified as a husband. Okay, I'll listen to you, Zhang Lifang said. She was very touched that her husband valued her thoughts and feelings. In short, try to find opportunities to visit your parents in the future. Zhang Lifang was in a good mood and finally had a smile on her face. He Tiantian quickly asked Huo Ruimin to go play with her grandmother. With the children playing tricks and cuteness around, Zhang Lifang was in an even better mood. Grandma Wang never cared about Huo Jekan's family affairs and understood Zhang Lifang's mood. Seeing that the atmosphere was improving, Grandma Wang said with a smile, Tiantian, you have graduated from college, what are your plans? He Tiantian originally wanted to do business, but seeing Huo Jekan and Zhang Lifang there, she smiled and said, our teacher once came to me before and said that I had good grades. If you want to stay in school, you can wait until you are a junior in college. Applied. Oh, it's good to be a teacher, better than being a doctor, Zhang Lifang nodded. Although she liked the profession of doctor, she had to say that being a doctor was too tiring. Haha, many people in our class may go to some government agencies. I don't like those people. Maybe it would be more suitable for me in school, He Tiantian said. As for doing business, she has now found a partner, As long as she provides seasonings, she doesn't participate in the management of funds and other matters. She only looks at the ledger, and it probably won't take up much time. You have been kind and simple since you were a child. It would be great to be a teacher in school, Zhang Lifang said. In government agencies, things will change over time. Huo Jekan smiled and said nothing. He was a typical unit. Huo Yingzhi smiled and said, actually, the reason why Tian Tian is willing to be a teacher is because there are relatively few courses for university teachers, so she can take care of her family. Others don't know the efforts and sacrifices Tian Tian has made for this family, but he, the husband, understands in his heart. Tian Tian is more considerate. As a doctor, I can't take care of my family. If it weren't for your mother before, Yingzhi probably wouldn't even be able to have a warm meal. Zhang Lifang smiled bitterly. Tian Tian, for the sake of this family, you will have to do it in the future. Treat Tian Tian well, but don't bully her. Yes, Huo Yingzhi saluted mischievously, I will treat Tian Tian well. Grandma Wang was even more emotional. The relationship between Zhao Huan and Song Chunli's mother-in-law and daughter-in-law was tense. Every time Song Chunli said that Zhao Huan worked overtime every day and was not a good mother. It's rare that Tian Tian can arrange it well. No wonder everyone from top to bottom likes Tian Tian. When they arrived at home, everyone seemed to be relieved and felt very relaxed. Before school started, Huang Jingli and Wu Yaoliang came to express their gratitude with wedding candies and some spicy food as a thank you gift to the matchmaker. Hey, the bride is so beautiful, Tian Tian said with a smile, looking at Huang Jingli with a red face. Okay, don't be ashamed of me, Huang Jingli said, looking shy. Haha, Tian Tian smiled, Sister Jingli, you are married, are Wu Yaoliang's parents good to you? Because Huang Jingli got married without notifying her natal family, and besides, it was not considered a serious natal family. Okay, they are very good to me, Huang Jingli said, thank you and Huo Yingzhi for giving me such a warm home. We are just connecting, the most important thing is you, Tian Tian blinked, since your father-in-law, mother-in-law and Wu Yaoliang are so good to you, you must live a good life. Just forget the unpleasantness in the past. Yeah, Huang Jingli is not as sad as before since she knew her identity and gave up on those people. My father-in-law and mother-in-law live in the county town below. My father-in-law has a job, and my mother-in-law works at home and lives a relatively comfortable life. Tian Tian was chatting with Huang Jingli here, and Huo Yingzhi and Wu Yaoliang were also chatting over there. People feel so refreshed when happy events happen, Huo Yingzhi said with a smile. How does it feel to be the groom? I'm 30 years old, so of course I'm happy to be the groom, Wu Yaoliang said openly. God was so kind to him. He finally didn't have to face the village girls and widows introduced to him by his parents. You are more direct, Huo Yingzhi said. Huang Jingli is a good person, and her family is like that. You should treat her well. She is pretty good looking, and she is more than good enough for you. You love her and protect her. She is naturally willing to live a good life with you. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 670. 668. Wu Yaoliang giggled, but after hearing Huo Yingzhi's words, he nodded cautiously. He is lucky and should be content. I made a note of it, and we will be fine, Wu Yaoliang said. God gave her such a good wife, and he should cherish it. Being able to grow up in such a family and being able to be self-reliant is a great thing in every aspect. Come on, let's talk about our future plans, Huo Yingzhi said. After more than a year of getting along, Wu Yaoliang is good in all aspects and should be a good teammate. What else can I do? I'll just wait for the school to assign me, Wu Yaoliang said. His grades are very good, but there are many outstanding people. For example, Huo Yingzhi in front of him almost all got perfect scores. He is ashamed of himself. Don't you want to stay in Nanji? Huo Yingzhi asked back. If he had other plans, he wouldn't stop him. Wu Yaoliang looked at Huo Yingzhe hopefully. The boy asked him what he was saying. Do you want to help him stay in Nanji? Of course I want to, Wu Yaoliang said, although I have only stayed in the city for a year and a half, I already like the city, and it is not far from my hometown. I can go back to see my parents often. Yingzhe, tell me, is there any way to stay in Nanji? Then have you ever thought about what kind of unit it is? Huo Yingzhe asked. After graduation, some people are willing to go to factories, while others are willing to go to agencies. It's best if you can do research. If not, anything related to my major will do, Wu Yaoliang said. Yingzhe, which unit are you going to go to? Huo Yingzhe had good grades and a good family background. Every unit would be vying for Huo Yingzhe. Are you sure you want to do research? Huo Yingzhe asked. If so, then he would keep Wu Yaoliang by his side. If something happens in the future, they can help each other and there is no need to team up with others. Wu Yaoliang nodded and said, I'm sure. Don't look at me laughing and joking all day long. In fact, the things that I can't bear to let go of the most are those in the officialdom. I don't want to enter an agency. Me too, then let's go into the research institute, Huo Yingzhe said. It would be best to have a companion. Graduate school? Yeah, okay, thank you very much, brother, Wu Yaoliang said. Whenever there is a period in the future, we will work together and work hard together. Okay, Huo Yingzhe nodded. Suddenly Wu Yaoliang made a sad face and said, brother, you have agreed to help me make arrangements, and I am grateful. But I am now a married man, and if Jingli is assigned to a place, our husband and wife will have to live apart in two places. Don't worry about this. Your wife is more suitable for government agencies than you. I heard from Tian Tian that she intends to stay in Nanji, Huo Yingzhe said. With her abilities and achievements, it shouldn't be a problem, so don't worry. That's good, Wu Yaoliang said. I am such a beautiful daughter-in-law. I am really worried that if we are separated, there will be problems in the future. Haha, Huo Yingzhe smiled. Brother, although you are ugly, you are gentle and talented. When Wu Yaoliang heard this, he was very happy and said, what he said is that I have to be confident and work hard to create a good future for Jingli and our family. When Wu Yaoliang and Huang Jingli left in the evening, they were very happy. On the way, Huang Jingli looked at the stars in the night sky and said softly, Yaoliang, I want to tell you that the two most correct things I have done in my life are that the first one is not sticking to the bottom line and not being an enemy of He Tian Tian. The second thing is to go to college. How do you start talking about being an enemy of He Tian Tian? Wu Yaoliang was curious. Huang Jingli rarely talked about her past days as an educated youth. Seeing that Huang Jingli was interested today, Wu Yaoliang was also willing to be a good listener. We went to Kijia village together at that time. Huang Jingli whispered to Wu Yaoliang about their stay in Kijia village while walking. Wu Yaoliang was shocked and dumbfounded when he heard this. Oh my god, is there really such a thing? Wu Yaoliang asked. That woman named Lin Xiru is really bad. It's all true. We are married now. I won't lie to you, Huang Jingli said. It can be said that during the years when I was an educated youth, apart from being threatened and bullied by Lin Xiru, other people treated me well. The few times Lin Xiru wanted to harm He Tian Tian and make trouble for her, I didn't do anything, or secretly reported to He Tian Tian, so I became a friend of He Tian Tian. Then Lin Xiru is going too far, Wu Yaoliang said. Anyway, things are not based on family background like before. You don't have to be afraid of threats. Besides, you have me now. If you have something, you can discuss it with me and we will find it together. Method. Well, it's great to have you, Huang Jingli said. Although she is not smart, she knows that every choice she makes after careful consideration is the right one. For example, unlike Lin Xiao, he is like a gangster, but unlike He Tian Tian, he is an enemy and studies hard to get into college. This time, Wu Yaoliang was identified because Wu Yaoliang could become friends with Huo Yingzhe. Huang Jingli knew that it was not difficult to become He Tianatian's friend. As long as they got along well, they would gradually become friends. But Huo Yingzhe was arrogant and aloof, and it was very difficult to get close to him. It can be said that Huo Yingzhe is the most picky man Huang Jingli has ever seen, and also the best man. She never dared to think about such a man, because she knew herself and was incapable of controlling such a man. Because of this, Wu Yaoliang, who can become friends with Huo Yingzhe, should also be a good man. So far, her choice is correct. Me too, don't think about those bad things in the future, Wu Yaoliang said, let's be fine. After we have a baby, we will be a complete family. As for other people, just don't worry about it. Yes, I know Huang Jingli has a very tenacious character and understands the situation clearly. It is not as sad as Wu Yaoliang imagined. Wu Yaoliang felt happy when he thought of Huo Yingzhe's words today. He couldn't help but share it with his wife, Jingli. Huo Yingzhe told me today that he wants to take me to the research institute with him, and he will probably stay in Nanji. You are sure to stay there in Nanji? Huang Jingli smiled and said, I'm sure, don't worry. She believed that Huo Yingzhe and He Tiantian had also said this in private. Wu Yaoliang will stay in Nanji, so she should also be arranged in Nanji. Furthermore, she is relatively familiar with Teacher Chen. When the time comes to move around, she can stay in Nanji even without help from others. That's good, Wu Yaoliang said, let's go back to school. Poor children, once they return to school, they have to live separately. There are no dormitories for couples in the school. If you want to be intimate, you can only go back to your hometown on the weekend. With the current conditions, I have no choice but to endure. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Sweetness of the 70s. Author, Chi Sing Cao. Chapter 671. 669. He Tiantian got Wu Yaoliang's plan from Huo Yingzhe, and she was very happy. At least in Nanji, she would have a good friend in the future. Huang Jingli is a very smart and bottom-line woman. She knows what can and cannot be done. It is not tiring to get along with such a person, and there is no need to worry that this woman will miss your husband. School starts. Huo Yingzhe and He Tiantian are busier than before. After the first lunar month, Qianchikan came to get money. He wanted to renovate the Qian family's old house. He Tiantian gave 10,000 yuan to Qianchikan and said, Uncle Qian, you are busy renovating the old house now, do you have time to open a store? Qianchikan smiled and said, I have contacted the materials and found the craftsman. As long as I buy the things back, they can start. I found a knowledgeable friend to help me keep an eye on it without any delay. We open a store. He Tiantian nodded and said, okay, I visited a few stores. If there is no problem, call Uncle Sun this weekend and let's go and have a look. Now that people's living standards are better than before, her shop should be able to open. He Tiantian felt embarrassed because she kept taking money from her grandmother. Okay, I'll ask Mr. Sun to come over on weekends. He's more suitable for doing business. Qianchikan said that as for him, he just does odd jobs and looks at the shop. There is no problem, and he can't help with anything else. It was agreed that the three of them would look at shops together on weekends. Huo Yingzhe also knew He Tianatian's plan, handed the child to his parents and followed him. The few shops chosen were all on the way to where He Tiantian and Huo Yingzhe went to school. What He Tiantian likes to do, sitting on the back seat of Huo Yingzhe's bicycle, is to look at the things around her along the way. Since I wanted to open a shop, I have been eyeing the surrounding buildings. There are 3 places in total, and they are all good at the city entrance. After seeing it and asking about the price, the four of them went home to discuss it. These three places each have their own advantages and disadvantages, Sun Sihao said, but I think the one with a courtyard and several rooms inside is very good. Don't you think the storefront is a bit small? Qianchikan said, it's not grand, it's not grand. I think the first shop is good, it's big. There are many shops in that shop, but you can't put the pot in the shop, Sun Sihao said. Firstly, this is our secret recipe, so we need to keep it mysterious. Secondly, if the pot is left in the shop, it will look dirty. Yes, we sell food, and taste is important, but health and wellness are also important. That's right, He Tian said. What about the third one? That front door is not small, and the yard behind it is not small either. But the rent is very expensive, Sun Sihao said with a bitter face. If we rent that shop, our investment will be high. Tian, why not? You rent the first one first, it is just right, the rent is low. If we do business later, well, you can buy a third place, so the risk is smaller. He Tian thought for a while, then finally shook her head and said, Uncle Sun, I know you are doing it for my own good, but you want to make my braised pork a time-honored brand, so I don't want to change places in the next 30 years. Qianchikan and Sun Sihao looked at each other. With He Tianation's craftsmanship, he has become a time-honored brand, and business is not a problem. Since He Tian had a long-term vision, they didn't stop him. Let's do this. I'll go find that person tomorrow and ask him if he can sell it, Sun Sihao said. Before liberation, the family was a wealthy family with several houses. The one we looked at faces the street and is the most suitable for doing business. Now it is cost-effective to spend more money to buy it. Yes, I always feel that business will be better in the future, Qianchikan said. If you buy it now, you will definitely not suffer a loss. Okay, sorry for bothering you two uncles, He Tian said. She had to go to school and had no time at all. In addition to being able to cook braised pork, He Tian also knows that housing prices in later generations are so high. Even if it's a bit more expensive, you won't suffer a loss if you buy that big house and yard. If the stalls were demolished, it would probably cost a lot of money. Forget it, don't think about these things for now, the most important thing now is doing business. In the third place, there are 8 stores at the entrance alone, and there is a large courtyard behind, with 7 or 8 wing rooms on both sides. One side can be used as a warehouse, and the other side can be used as a kitchen. Buy it, and if you want to expand it or flip it over again later, you can do that. A few days later, Sun Sihao and Qianchikan came over, looking bad. Tian, although that person agreed to sell, the price he offered was a bit expensive, Sun Sihao said with a bitter face, and he wants to sell all the houses in his family, not just one. Then how many houses does he have? He Tian was pleasantly surprised. Since the opportunity was in front of her, how could she let it go? There are 3 places, Sun Sihao said, one is an old house, and one is on a piece of land beside Suanwu Lake with more than a dozen broken houses. But I went to see it. The scenery there is good, and the transportation is relatively convenient. That's where we saw it? He Tian was stunned. My God, I really need someone to give me a pillow if I doze off. No matter how much it costs, she will buy it. Why did he want to sell the house? He Tian said, it stands to reason that it won't take long for the house to be in his hands. It's like this. The old man's son is an educated youth. Later something happened and he fled to Xiangjiang. Now he can contact the mainland. The old man may be too disappointed and scared. He wants to go to Xiangjiang and reunite his family. After going, I was also afraid that the house would be repossessed, so I thought of selling it once and never coming back. He Tian nodded and said, well, that's right. How much is the total? 280,000, Sun Sihao said. Originally it was 300,000, but I could only talk it up to 280,000. If it was any lower, he wouldn't sell it. 280,000. He Tian was stunned. That's a bit much, but there are 3 properties in good locations. I'll go take a look. If I'm satisfied, I'll buy them. He Tian had 70,000 to 80,000 yuan in hand. If she had to buy it, He Tian would send a telegram to her grandmother first and ask her to send a little more money, and then return it to her grandmother when she makes money later. Qianchikan and Sun Sihao were stunned, but they were immediately relieved when they thought that He Tian had a very rich grandmother. Tian, if you buy so many houses, aren't you afraid of taking them away if the policy changes one day? Sun Sihao finally couldn't help it anymore and expressed his worries. Qianchikan also has such worries. He Tian smiled and said, the country has just emerged from the quagmire, and it should not fall into it again. Now that everything is prosperous, I don't think it will. After hearing this, Qianchikan and Sun Sihao remembered it in their hearts. Since ancient times, Chinese people have bought houses and land when they have money. When they have money, they can also buy a yard. The Sweetness of the Seventies. Author, Qi Xing Cao. Chapter 672. 670. After Qianchikan and Sun Sihao left, they talked about buying a house. 280,000. This is a lot of money. Huo Yingzhe didn't care about shops or anything like that, but he wanted to buy He Tian a piece of land to build a house on the edge of Suanwu Lake so that she could swim. Brother Yingzhe, what's wrong with you? Don't you agree? Seeing Huo Yingzhe's expression change, He Tian thought Huo Yingzhe was unwilling. Huo Yingzhe smiled bitterly and said, it's not that I disagree, it's just that I don't have the ability to provide you with 280,000 yuan or buy you a house, which makes me feel bad. After all, I promised my father-in-law before that I would make you happy, but in the end I don't even have the money to buy land or a house. You don't do business, and everyone has no money. He Tian persuaded, not letting Huo Yingzhe think too much. I also want to go into business, Huo Yingzhe said. He has knowledge, creativity, foresight, and experience in his previous life. He will definitely be able to make money. Even worse, there are various patents. Well, you'd better not go into business in the short term, He Tian said. Your unwillingness to go to the Weapons Research Institute has made your father and grandfather angry. If you go into business, they will probably be even more disappointed. Huo Yingzhe sighed and said, I can't help myself. We are husband and wife, and my money is your money. We should regard this money as something we borrowed from my grandmother. When we make money, we will return it to my grandmother, He Tian said. If you feel bad about it, you can give it to me. Make some kitchen utensils to improve work efficiency. In order not to let Huo Yingzhe think too much, He Tian found a job for Huo Yingzhe. Hearing this, Huo Yingzhe was very happy. This is what she is good at, and said, I have already made the hair removal machine you mentioned last time. Take it home in 2 days and let's try it at home. This is exactly what I need, He Tian said. She liked Huo Yingzhe's confident and energetic look, as if the whole world was filled with sunshine. Huo Yingzhe only needs to do what he likes to do. As for making money, let her, a common person, do it. Furthermore, the father-in-law is a public official, and Huo Yingzhe will probably be considered a public official in the future. If they have too many business activities on their hands, it will have an impact on their career. Not only is there a hair removal machine, I also built a range hood. As long as that is installed in the kitchen, the oil smoke can be sucked out, Huo Yingzhe said. There is also a stove. I also designed a new energy-saving stove. Okay, I'll take a closer look then, He Tian said. Brother Yingzhe is so awesome. With He Tian's enlightenment, Huo Yingzhe also thought about it. Make money, there will be many opportunities in the future, Don't provoke the elders in the family and tease their sensitive nerves. It's the weekend again, and Huo Yingja and He Tiantian go to see the house shop together. He Tiantian likes the environment next to Suanwu Lake so much. If you build a house here, it will be a great enjoyment in life. Brother Yingja, I want to buy it, I must buy it, He Tiantian said excitedly. Even standing here made her feel refreshed, let alone living here in the future. Buy it if you like it, Huo Yingja said. Apart from the shop we saw that day, the other house does not have a shop, but it is also on the roadside. If necessary, you can build your own house or a shop. The location is very good. 280,000 is not expensive. Yes, it's not expensive, He Tiantian agreed. Let's go and talk to the old man. Huo Yingja smiled and said, forget it, let me negotiate. I will definitely not lower the price by a penny. Maybe if they see that you like it so much, they may even increase the price. He Tiantian shrugged, but the excitement on his face did not diminish, and said, okay, you go. Huo Yingja understood the general situation, found the old man named Chen, and said, Mr. Chen, since you are going to Xiangjiang, there is no need to use RMB. We can give you US dollars or Hong Kong dollars. This can give you save a lot of hassle and fees. After hearing this, Mr. Chen's eyes lit up and he said, if it's in US dollars, I can get it a little cheaper, but this way the risk is high. What if you cheat me? After hearing this, Huo Yingja smiled and said, my wife's grandmother also has a branch in Hong Kong. You just need to provide your son's account there, and we can send the money to you first. I haven't seen my son for so many years, and I don't know how he is doing. Furthermore, it seems that my son got married in Hong Kong, and I don't know whether he is filial to his daughter-in-law and grandchildren. The money was his last savings, and he wanted to leave a way out for himself. Even if the junior is filial to him for the sake of money, Mr. Chen is also happy. No need, Mr. Chen said, you can buy me a house and a shop directly in Hong Kong, and use the real estate in Xiangjiang to replace my real estate in Nanji. This can save the handling fees of going back and forth. After hearing this, Mr. Chen shook his head and said, no, the house can be more remote and the environment can be better, but the shops must be good and of equal value. But Mr. Chen, 280,000 yuan cannot buy a good house in Hong Kong, let alone houses and shops. Huo Yingja shook his head and said, your requirements are too high. As you can see, my two houses are in very good locations. If my son didn't want to go back to the mainland, I wouldn't want to sell these properties, Mr. Chen said. In a few years, the prices in these places will rise. 80,000 is not much, it's a great deal. In this case, we'd better give you 280,000 yuan, Huo Yingja said. The housing prices in Xiangjiang are not the same as the land in the mainland, which is very valuable. I know the housing prices in the city center of Xiangjiang are expensive, but I don't want one in the city. Those around the city are fine, as long as the environment is a little better, Mr. Chen said. It doesn't need to be too big, then buy me one. This shop allows me to rent it out, earn an income, and support myself. I don't want to cause any trouble to my son or grandson. Huo Yingja thought for a moment and said, it's okay, it's not impossible. Let's go back and discuss it. After hearing Mr. Chen's request, He Tiantian was surprised and said, this old man is quite smart and knows how to leave a way out for himself. The future is also bleak. My son doesn't want to come back. He misses his son again, so he has no choice but to go to Xiangjiang, Huo Yingja said. It's just that after going, Mr. Chen has no income. He wants to live a comfortable life in old age, and he really wants to. There is a way out. He Tiandian nodded and said, okay, agree, let's treat it as a good relationship. We bought his room, and the value will increase in the future. In order to allow him and his family's descendants to have a psychological balance, We helped him buy the house and shop. It's best if it's cheap now but will appreciate in value later. Well, this is the best, Huo Yingja agreed. Although it is a transaction, it is always better to be happy than to hold grudges. Highly recommend Xianqi's masterpiece Hello, 1980s Girl. The movie queen turned into a cute baby, pretending to be a pig, eating a tiger, cheating and torturing the scum. It's so cute.